Good morning and a warm welcome to this week's edition of the Dialogue on Soul TV. My name is Prince Apollo. Welcome to the show where we look at the major events of the week. The panel is ready to take you through those major events. A very busy week we have had, but the highlight is the passing of two controversial bills in Parliament: the Uganda People's Defence Forces Amendment Bill and the Political Party and Organizations Amendment Bill. Well, welcome to the show. We will look at the criticism and possibly look at the way forward after the passing of these laws amid controversies and criticisms with the majorly the ruling party in attendance after the opposition boycotted the sittings, citing illegalities both in the process and in the content of the bills. Once again, I welcome you to the show. You'll be part of this show by sending in your comments and observations as we dissect these major issues. I'm privileged this morning to welcome back Richard Baguma, a veteran journalist, but also a political commentator. And I am pleased to have you on the show. Speak to our viewers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As always, God first. I thank God for enabling us to be here.
Sure.
To be breathing and able to come and share perspectives. I also want to thank our viewers and our listeners all over the country who keep giving us feedback. Sometimes, we don't, but we know they are there accompanying us, and I appreciate them.
Sure.
For their time. Of course, the management, Apollo, and yourself for keeping fought.
The show alive.
Yes. I am very happy, Apollo, that you get me to meet people whom I have not seen for a long time.
Sure.
Yes, so I'm happy to have the panelists I have here. You will reveal them.
Wow.
But when I was a young journalist, I used to go to interview a certain gentleman regarding corruption. So I'm happy to be with him in the studio.
Thank you.
Of course, the resident, Dr. Werihe, of the United Republic of Chile.
Thank you so much, Richard. And Richard is putting on black from top to bottom. I don't know if that's a statement.
Yes,
I'm not so sure.
You also should tell them that on my feet I have white.
Oh.
Yeah, to balance the black. And, for me, I am one of those who reject the demonization of the color black. That Satan is black, sin is black. Then what about my skin?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, it's always to protest this demonization of black as a color and the angelization of white on the other side.
Sure. I'm honored again to have my resident panelist, Dr. Jared Were Wanzala. And Wanzala is a public policy researcher, but also an associate lecturer at Uganda Management Institute. Comrade, I'm always happy to see you, and time has never been an issue. Time management has never been an issue with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, our viewers and my colleagues in the studio. For sure, when you talk about the time, we used to be caned in the primary school because of time. And
I actually commend you for that.
So for me, if I am going to do something the next day, I call you today to find out if you are ready and you're actually sure of the time that you're going to meet. So that I don't disappoint, because if you do it intentionally to always reach late, that is indiscipline. It's one of the first cases of indiscipline in management. And of course, greetings to the people of my republic, United Republic of Chirinya and Buburo County East. Richard, I congratulate you for chairing a successful road safety conference.
Thank you.
Sure.
For the first time, I saw that the week, Road Safety Week, people in my republic on the various platforms discussing road safety.
Excellent. Thank God.
Child restraints, arguing, others opposing, others alcohol, and I was like, this is very good.
Yeah, true.
This debate is now coming into the communities.
Sure.
So I thank you for that, and of course the whole team at the Road Safety Advocates Coalition,
Yeah.
Uganda.
You must take caution, because when you always speak about a republic, and I am aware at one point people were talking about some republics somewhere, Chira. It didn't go down well with the authorities, and here you are declaring on national television that you have a republic somewhere.
I think the reason I call it a republic is not because of ill motives, but because there is uniqueness in that community.
Was it
Multi-ethnic.
it was Yira
First
Republic,
it was Nile Republic,
Uh-huh.
then Yira
Yira
Republic.
Republic,
Then Kawempe Republic.
and Kawempe.
And I think the biggest one was in Kawempe Republic.
Anyway, thank you so much, Gerard. I'm happy to have you here, but it is a profound honor to have on the show this morning Honorable Waswarule. Waswarule is a veteran politician, former Deputy Inspector General of Government, and a senior citizen. Always pleased to have you on the dialogue.
Good morning, viewers. I think Richard was conservative with the truth. He's wearing white shoes because of this new law.
Hey.
I left home wearing my Kaunda suit and the black shoes. When I reached the border stage, they said, you better go back and change. So I rushed back, changed the shoes and the Kaunda suit. It's interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah, what goes on in high places these days, and the decisions that they reach,
Sure.
and the impact that they have on the shoe industry.
Wow.
I think somebody must have a shoe factory somewhere, and he's churning out shoes now.
White shoes only now.
Not only white, but brown and as long as they're not black. So those with black shoes, there's no market.
Also, the brown was Timberland shoes, the ones we love going with in the villages.
The jungle boots.
The jungle
Which
boots
come to the
now
ankles.
we are in trouble.
Hey. Sure, viewers, we are speaking about the amendments in the UPDF Act. Now it's now an act of parliament. The bill was passed this week. I said the opposition boycotted, saying they can't be part, of a process, an illegal process. And it did not stop the NRM MPs from passing the bill, as controversial as it was. But after passing the bill, we saw His Excellency the President hailing the MPs for saving this country, because there was going to be a clash between the army, the judiciary, and parliament. I'm not so sure about that. Hopefully, the gentlemen in the studios will tell us how that was about to happen. But even the CDF, the Chief of Defense Forces, hailed the MPs for being fearless and doing this. But the question remains on the trajectory the legislative processes in this country are taking, especially looking at how this law was, how much time this law was given, and the consultations that were made. Well, I now open the discussion, and I will implore Dr. Wanzala to tell us whether actually he expected anything different from what we saw in Parliament and even from outside Parliament.
Thank you very much, Apple. I think we have really discussed this topic, but of course we shall not get tired because the implications are really big. Last week I was here and I mentioned that I didn't expect the bill not to be passed because the fact is that The bill had some positive aspects that I looked at. For instance, we have been operating with SFC as people are calling it an illegal group, an illegal force within the UPDF. So it institutionalized it such that it is subject to the command of the army and the sitting CDF. Doesn't matter whether it is General Mohozi in charge or any other person tomorrow. It also, it had a content about introducing the welfare scheme for healthcare for our men and women.
Servicemen.
Yes, if you go to the army, one of the things they're struggling with, you find soldiers who have been at war with the trauma, with sometimes the broken limbs. They're unable to meet those, the health needs. They're not able. And for me, I think that is a plus, that the health of our soldiers matters a lot. And then, of course, I saw the other positive thing was that they were moving the pension of the UPDF from the public service to Ministry of Defense.
Yeah, and Veteran Affairs.
And Veterans Affairs. And I thought that is better, because if you look at the secondary school teachers, their pension is handled by the Education Service Commission. And therefore, if you have these challenges of updating your records, your issues, it is always faster to in the line ministry compared to when everybody else goes to the public service. And the history of people stealing money of pensioners in the billions. Remember the issues of the Obey and others. People would know how many workers have retired, then they go and collect billions when the owners of the money are suffering in the villages. So for me, some of those are a plus. And then also, you saw that the Supreme Court strongly condemned, said that the people who are running the court martial, unity court martial, division court martial, were not qualified.
Yeah.
So introducing a unity court martial led by a lawyer, division court martial, and so forth, it is positive, because then you'll not have laymen trying to deliver justice in things they don't understand.
As it has been.
Yeah, within the army. Now, this whole good bill is clothed into very negative sections, and which are played out more publicly, like the one of trial of civilians in the military courts.
Sure.
Because I can predict that the president is going to accept this bill. The lawyers will go back to court, specifically on the issue of challenging the issue of trying civilians in court, which is also still pending in the East African Court of Justice.
Sure.
And when you read the Supreme Court ruling, which quashed that trial, the details are there. They reasoned very well. If you take your opponent in the court martial, where the commander-in-chief and the CDF may have interest, they are competitors with this person, what justice are you going to have? That on the issue of independence, still. So, also, for me, the process also that the consultations were not enough. We have had bills. I remember when we were tracking bills in Parliament, I discovered at some point the personal data protection bill had stayed there for almost 2.5 years in the committee. And yet the rules of procedure provide for not more than 45
days.
This bill, the UPDF Amendment Act, and this other one, which I call a cousin because they came at the same time, the Political Parties and Organizations Amendment Bill, were processed in 6 days.
Yeah, true.
It was so funny that political parties received the letters to appear in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
To appear in 10 minutes.
Before the
committee. And then when it came to UPDF Amendment Act, the Law Society received the letter at 11:50 a.m. and they were to appear at
1:50.
No, 11:50 to appear at noon.
No,
10 minutes.
1:50 to appear at noon. It was late by 1.5.
So you can see. So, and you see, if you look at the article of the Constitution that commands
Yeah.
Parliament to make laws, they say make laws for
Yeah.
good governance, peace,
Yeah.
and laws that promote social cohesion. So if I am a member of Parliament, knowingly passing a law that is promoting social disharmony or that is promoting injustice, then I will be going against the article of the Constitution, and I will not go far from what the Daily Monitor described in the headline that NRM gives its MPs a rope to hang themselves.
Oh.
I think they were given a rope.
And they did.
They have committed suicide, and every election they have never learned that the anger of the citizen is applied onto them. If you go and track what is happening with NRM primaries, it is terrible. Yes, I'm not a member of NRM, but I was monitoring what was happening in Amisindwa. People just standing up and saying, we are just here to punish these people. You know?
Yeah, but if you can make a comment on the head of state applauding the members for passing this bill, and he makes it clear that this was going to create a clash, to bring a clash between the parliament, the army, and the judiciary. How do you comprehend that?
Well, one, Richard, there were vested in personal interests in these bills, the two bills. That is why the speed was rapid. And before that, I think weeks back, there were allegations of members of parliament receiving 100 million shillings each, meaning that if it was true, then personal interests were at play to ensure that that particular bill is passed as fast as
The
it
interests of the president.
can. Yes. Then two, the clash between the executive, the legislature,
No, the army.
the army.
This is the
Yeah,
army.
the army is the arm of the executive.
He
So-
talks about the army, the legislature, and the judiciary.
And now I think I want to interpret some of these as threats. Threats aimed at influencing decision making of other arms of the state.
All right.
Because the judiciary is an arbitrator. When there is conflict, when a matter of law has failed to be interpreted, they go to court. So its role is basically to interpret and pass judgment. So why should it be clashing with the army at this time?
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jared Werewanzala. And let me hear from Honorable Waswa. Did you expect anything different from what we saw? Right from the tabling, the time that was allocated for consultations, which many people still think was inadequate, and the passing, and even the statements from the head of the state.
You see, the whole procedure, the fast tracking, is intended to limit consultation and debate. And you focus on the head of state, but I'll point a camera at the people who walked out. They contributed to limiting the debate. So they earned their 100 million by falling in line. They earned their 100 million.
Do you have evidence
I'm telling you
that can pin them to having picked that 100 million?
I said they earned.
Oh, yeah.
Earned their 100 million.
The opposition?
Yes.
Who walked out?
By limiting the debate, by contributing to limiting the debate.
Okay.
By simply walking out. There are better tactics if you deal with something as abominable as this bill was. The best you can do is you go in, you debate, you cause them to to drop issues, right? They may not be all the issues, but at least some of the issues. You also you let the public to be aware.
Oh.
When the public is aware, the public also plays a role.
You point out the salient and critical issues.
Precisely. Now, when you pass a very bad law and you leave that parliament, you can go into a market. And the lady selling you tomatoes can look at you and say, this is the one who sold, who brought this law, and refuse to.
Why do you blame the opposition who walked out first, and you don't blame those who sat and passed the bill?
I'm coming.
Oh.
Because you started with the head of state.
Oh, okay.
And I said that one, you finish that one. Let me also deal with the other.
Okay.
The people who passed the bill, they also got their 2 and tuppence. So they are all members of parliament. They are playing the same game on the same field, but they are just scoring in the same goal. That is the difference.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and my friend was talking about concentrating on the negative aspects. Take a pill, a magic pill. It has sugar on one side and poison on the other. And tell me, when you're giving it to somebody, where would you place the emphasis? On the sugar?
No.
Or on the poison?
Of course, the
so
poison.
it is the materiality of the issue, and this is where the debate is skewed, so that people are not aware of what I was not even aware that there were such things as pensions for
the army, the veterans.
Yeah, this is the first time because of the nature of what was in the bill. There's no way anybody could concentrate, even well, there was no debate in parliament. So wherever these salient issues will not come out. It's very unfortunate. But I sent you a video of the head of state, our beloved Mr. President, which was much younger days, must have been around 1986, 87, where he said law can be an instrument of oppression and exploitation. And I think this summarizes the situation that we're in, that law is being used to oppress people and to exploit people. Now, the question that is more important is why and the timing. What we're in a situation where we are in a transition, where we're moving from one leader to another. It's not announced, but we all recognize that it is. But I think this law is being introduced not for the current situation, but for probably for the leadership that we expect to come. So we have to look at the motivations, and I think that's one of the reasons that I will say.
All right, and also talk about the response after the bill was passed. The head of state imputing that this would create a clash. If at all it was not passed, there would be a clash between the army and the legislature, but also the judiciary. What did you pick from that statement?
Well, he would have to say in what way. Unless he enumerates how there's a clash. The judiciary has always been there, the executive has been there, the army has always been there. There has not been a clash. I don't know why passing a bill that...
I think, from my side, I think he's relating to the ruling of the judiciary,
yes,
that outlawed the trial of civilians in military courts. Because on the same platform, he said there is no way you can take a soldier who has either raped a woman or what to a sub-county to a Gombolola. That would be that would be something else. That I think you had his whole statement. So he was, I think he was relating to the judgment from the Supreme Court, and he insists we badly needed this, or the army badly needed this law.
We certainly did not badly need it, and I don't even think that even members of the military badly needed such a law. The UPDF Act, which is very much improved from the original bill, which was very draconian. Even members of the military are concerned by these laws. We assume that they fall in line because orders come from above. But remember, you have to ask yourself, where do those orders that come from above, where do they come from? And you can see that you've only got 2 comments of both members of the military who commented on the bill. You've not had the spokesperson, you've not had other army officers cheering it as a good law. But the person who recognized a long time back that law can be an instrument of oppression is the one now coming out to praise this bill and his offspring.
In your opinion, do you think the members of parliament, the NRM especially members of parliament, who are majority in that house when the bill was passed, do you think they feel that guilt that possibly they passed a law that is unpopular within the electorate? Do you think it is they have that feeling of remorse?
You see, it would be wrong to judge them blanket. There are people very many people within the NRM who do not believe in this bill. There are very many people within the NRM who know the difference between right and wrong. We always wrongly accuse them that because they're NRM and things are passed. But you have to understand the issue of power and what power can do. These are people who are in a situation where they're going back to look for votes to ask the electorate for votes. The first thing that they did before even this bill came is they asked for facilitation. Right? We're told by,
we're told they actually asked for the money.
Yes, and we're told by members of NRM. And specifically, I will quote Lydia Wanyoto and Edward Francis Babu, who told us that the 100 million that you're talking about, that you say that there is no evidence. These are people giving evidence that this money was asked for in the NRM caucus, and the head of state said yes, but I will not only give you, I'll also give everybody else. So when you're looking for evidence, there are people who have given public testimony. So we shouldn't overlook that. Should they feel guilty? Yes, of course, there's some guilt, but I think you have to weigh the guilt with the political survival. Yes, and the 100 million, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Honorable Wasorle. And Wasorle is a senior citizen, but also former member of parliament for Rubaga North. Richard, Richard, you are one of those whom Rule says you have started conforming immediately with
When I saw white shoes, I started laughing.
You don't want to associate with anything black. Black shoes. How, from your side, how do you look at the situation now after all the criticisms, the court ruling, the Supreme Court ruling, and here the law passed in record time, and we cannot be sure that it will be signed into law anytime from now, if it has not been signed already.
Yesterday I told a certain audience that if I were Yoweri Museveni, and certainly I'm not, I would have returned this law to Parliament in protest.
Oh.
Yet say you removed some crucial bits, please also put them back.
Oh,
Yeah. Because it is not in its original form. There were some things
yeah.
that were taken out.
Hoping that they would actually again pass it as
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. There are many things around this law. But you see, I think it's unfair to focus on this law for the purposes of conversation with ourselves and our audience. So I don't consider this a legal discussion. It was never a legal process. And I think the Honorable Waswarure has talked about that. This was always a political process. So politics can be played in many ways, through the bullet, through the ballot, through parliament, through the judiciary. Yeah. So this is about politics. The president, not too long ago, said he would remind the Chief Justice that this country is not owned by judges and lawyers. And I don't know if he got time to remind the Chief Justice, because the Chief Justice and all those around this judicial thing seem to forget that they don't really own this
count.
Yeah. And that's why the president keeps reminding us. You see, this was going to portend a challenge for this country between the judiciary, the legislature, and the army, not the executive. Because you say we theorize, this theorization of ours, you see, it is the three arms of government. Apana. You keep getting reminded. We keep getting reminded. But of course, we would like not to see that.
The executive has been replaced by the army now.
No, there is no replacement. They always existed. They always existed. You see, I have been talking about the idea and the subsisting situation. I keep talking about that. I always agree with Beri on this show that the idea is democracy and constitution. But this idealism that you see the army currently is under civilian
authority. That is what is in the constitution.
In our current dispensation, we started with our Kabaka. I don't know what the Kabaka's or Mugabe's force was called. We went to the King's African Rifles. We went to the Uganda Army. We went to the Uganda National Liberation Army. We went to the National Resistance Army. It's in 2005 when we stopped army and we went to force. Uganda People's Defense Forces. Now, after 20 years, is when the forces are becoming real forces. Because they were the forces reserve out, SFC out what? It is now that they have come into the fold.
Yeah, actually the bill, the act now formalizes the existence of SFC.
And you like your word, formalizes. Yeah. But they always existed. So it has taken 20 years for the force to be born as a force. And so the pangs of labor, the pains you see we are discussing now. In fact, we are pathologists. Yes, on the screen it is very clear that we are doing postmortem. Yeah. So the pathologist Werike, pathologist Waswarure, and the pathologist Baguma. We are here doing a good job, led by senior pathologist But so there are many things around this. But it's always about politics and power. There's also one thing that the Honorable Waswarure talked about. And I don't know why we are unwilling to confront this. The transition. Yes, the transition is happening.
This is part of a transition process.
It is happening. Yes. So
transition from who to who, or from where to where?
I don't know who the next is, but I know who is there now. The one who is there now is President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Haburugwa. He's the one who is there now. President Yoweri Museveni Kaguta Haburugwa did not come to power through the ballot, at least originally. He came through the bullet. So if you are comparing the bullet and the ballot, one of the things they have in common is a B and some T's or something like that. Yeah. some L's, some T's, but they are fundamentally different.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and so looking away from this, and that's why when you have people who are between a rock and a hard place, they have been called clowns, they have been called MPs,
Buffoons.
but they are also buffoons and they are also honorable members. And they take just 100 million. I told you upper I was disappointed. You remember the other program?
Yeah, you said
I was
they would have
disappointed
asked
they took
for
100
1 billion.
program because they had 100 million. They had already passed that negotiation point. They had previously got 100 million. They were now past. How for this fundamental work they are doing, how do they get only 100 million? So I was disappointed even with their negotiating power. It should have been more. But for you to come and condemn them that you see they took it, whether they take it or not, didn't the committee go in at night when it was in Munyonyo? Wasn't it summoned at night somewhere to go somewhere? Don't we know? So this had to pass.
It had to pass.
Yes, it's about power. So this thing of going and saying, the walkout, only what do you want the clowns to do?
No,
What do you want the clowns
they
to
are
do? Clowns,
MPs.
quote unquote.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Because now they have rescued themselves. Now they are courageous patriots.
Yeah.
Oh yes, several of them have rescued themselves now. They have graduated. So what do you want them to do? They have to walk out, leave some of them behind. By the way, they did what you were saying. They left some of them behind. They have 2 minority reports.
Yeah, true.
One, they were even booing. The presenter of the one, the majority was booing. The presiding officer stood her ground and said no. So they tried 2 minority reports. They even stayed and tried to push for some things. But they also had to show us the public. There's a lot of usually gullible public. To say, we were not part of it. This is the situation, Apollo.
That is the situation
that we are discussing.
We are in. Thank you so much, Richard. And you raise very salient issues. Discussions should also look at what is real and what is ideal. My name is Prince Apollo. I invite you to send in your comments and observations. Send your comments by WhatsApp, by SMS. We'll be reading those comments as we continue to interrogate and do postmortem, like Bakuma said. When we talk about postmortem, I quickly remember Dr. Onzivua. On the bills that passed this week, but more specifically the Uganda People's Defence Forces bill, now an act of parliament. And after the passing of the bill, controversial as the process has been, the head of state lauds the members of parliament for saving this country from a clash between the army, which Richard now says is now an arm of government, the army, the judiciary, and the legislature. And I will be reading those comments. Doctor, quickly before we go to a break in like 7 minutes, Baguma raises an issue of not looking beyond just what we see. That this is about a transition, and we are not giving it time to bring these issues to the people to understand, and I think it will be important. And he also talks about the army now taking the center stage, integrated into the 3 arms of government. I don't know what your opinion would be.
Yeah, I think I largely agree with Baguma and the Honorable Waswalude. Transition is at play, and in this country, since the NRM came to power, not only since the NRM, but even since independence, the army is one of those tools of fighting, political fights, and they are considered it is considered so important. And in 2021, we had what we call the UPDF doctrine or establishment 2021.
Yeah.
It was delayed to be launched to establish the office of this CDF, how strong it is right now.
Yeah.
It was launched about 2 years back, and the CDF then was General Mbadi. And in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks of receiving that book, he was reshuffled and appointed a minister. And then the book was handed to somebody else, who is now in charge. And if you look at what is at play, while the former CDFs respected the institution, they never openly spoke about the politics of the day. They never participated in partisan debates. Today, it is the opposite of what is happening. So forcing this law, even with some illegal sections that are in there, I think is meant to be a weapon for this period of transition. Definitely, if you have a lead of 80 plus years in charge, a transition is definitely taking place. And if you look at even the cabinet, look at the Yame, you are seeing new faces. You are seeing the Nyamtoros in the early 30s, you are seeing the Abels, So we were complaining about traffic jam for a very long time. I think Richard waited and we're still waiting. Some of us have waited too long.
But Mao
Mao
he's
said
still stuck
he had
in
to
the
force
traffic
his
jam.
way in. He had to force his way in by promising the transition, which has not delivered. He has not delivered. But the fact is that the transition is on. And if you look at the signs and the events taking place, I think that law serves that purpose.
Are the political actors, awake to this reality, in your opinion, or not? I mean, the players, especially on the side of the opposition, and even those who sat in that house. And,
the political players are not the same. They're not homogeneous. If you look at the people in NRM, they know the transition is going on, and they suspect probably the blessing is on the CDF. That is why when CDF moved around for his birthday celebrations, which were political mobilization events, you saw what happened in Bukedea. That almost 500 members of parliament went to line for hours in the sunshine
to shake his hand,
to greet the CDF. So that in their mind, I think it's like they are playing matter to pick and play. So that in case it falls on this one, maybe I'll have. When you saw PLO emerging, a section of them jumped over there. You see even senior people like Mukula, the party here, the next day they are also addressing PLOU, knowing that something they may miss out if they are not on the other side. Now, from the opposition side, there are those in the opposition who have decided also to quietly ally and support what may come. Then we have the Magere group, the Kavule group. I think the kingpins in there understand that right now they pose the biggest challenge to the probably succession plans of the current government. And they also know that probably this law targets them because they have suffered the highest number of people in the recent times who have been taken to the court martial. So they know. And I believe that they know this is succession policy because I've heard their leader talk about it all the time. So I cannot rule out. All signs are on the wall.
If it is true this is about facilitating a transition, do you think it is good for this country or not? In just 3 minutes.
Of course it's not. Richard talked about the ideal and what is happening. The ideal is that the law says the army shall be subordinate to civilian authority. And we have seen some UPDF leaders before, like Katumba Wamala said that for me, whoever wins the election, I think that was 2016, Aronda said, we shall salute any president who comes. If Besigye wins, we shall salute him. Today is not the case. Today is like whoever opposes my father, I will deal with him accordingly. So it's different.
It's different.
So while the ideal is there, but there is also the reality.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Werihe Wanzala. And in the studios, we also have Honorable Waswarule alongside Richard Baguma Tinkasimire, continuing with the post-mortem of the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025. My name is Prince Apollo. We go for a break, and when we return, we read the comments and observations from you, our viewers, but we also continue to interrogate the criticisms and possibly speak about what now lies ahead, as the opposition have already made their point clear that they are running to courts of law. But here we have an ideal situation, a reality that from Baguma's opinion, this is all about a transition. It's part of the transition process, and what now lies ahead for the political future of our country and the rule of law in this country. Let me go for a break, and the dialogue will return after this short while. Don't go away.